Well, hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today it's all about Lou Bond. Now, Lou Bond, as you can maybe see behind me, is something of a musical man of mystery. He only released one album. Before that, he had a few singles that are nearly impossible to find on any format. And biographical information about his life is pretty scant. We know that his single self-titled album from '74 was on the R Product label, which was a subset of the great Stax Records. And what an album it was. Whether or not he was a man of mystery wouldn't make a difference because even if someone had made hundreds of albums, this album would still stand out as something very, very special. Now, how to define, sorry for covering up your face there, Lou. I guess that sort of is in keeping with the whole mystery man theme of this show. So, what was the theme of this album in a musical sense? So many. Where to begin? I would describe it as sort of almost neo-Baroque soul. And what do I mean by that? It was so impassioned, so dramatic, yet in its arrangements, it was this interesting sort of paradox of Lou on his beautifully played acoustic guitar and string arrangements from the Memphis Symphony Orchestra that was brought in to do those string parts. And of course, the other musicians on the album played in a great sort of soulful style, in that sort of 1970s soulful style, and everything just comes together so well. If there's one word that I could use to describe this album, it would be organic. There's something about it that from A to B, side A to side B, just feels so real. So real beyond words. And the sort of soft yet dynamic and emotionally powerful and sincere voice of Lou Bond really just brings it all together. The lyrical content is very politically conscious. It's very poignant. He's talking about things like Vietnam. He's talking about the ecology movement of the '70s. He's talking about racial issues, really hardcore stuff, but presented in a way that's so musically irresistible. And listening to this, you wonder why wasn't he given a larger album deal? Because in the '70s, you weren't necessarily expected to hit it out of the park on day one when it comes to album sales, but he came and he left. He faded into obscurity. And although he's dead now, we don't even know the exact year he died. Some say 2010, some say 2013, somewhere in that range. But the album has been, it sort of was resurrected in the early 2000s. People like Outkast, people like Mary J. Blige, huge artists like that, used samples of this album, and that sort of revived an interest in the album. From a musical point of view, you just really need to check it out. Luckily, it's on all of the major streaming services except for one song called The Establishment, which is the longest track on the album. So for that, you're going to have to go to YouTube. But luckily, several people have uploaded it there. So you definitely need to check that out too, because it's one of the best, if not the best songs on the entire album. But listen to it all, get your hands on it, stream the parts you can, go to YouTube for the parts that you can't, but just listen to it. You will not regret it. It's one of these rough diamonds that should have been considered one of the, frankly, one of the best albums of the '70s. I think one of the best soul and R&B albums of all time. You don't want to miss it. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.